So I want to call out in that video at the end, it talked about the pre-release. How many are planning on going to the Avacyn Restored pre-release?
Yeah! Awesome.
Good, because there is you will not be disappointed, and be sure to pre-register to take part of the Hell Vault
The Hell Vault
event.
experience. It's
so,
awesome.
Talk to your stores to make sure that you can get a chance to participate in that. So welcome to the Magic panel, yay! So I'm Paul Levy, one of the brand managers on the Magic brand team, and we have a great panel here. We've got some of the creatives and designer and developers of Avacyn Restored, so that's cool. Can't hide, Brady. So they're actually out of order here on the panel than they are on the slide you're looking at. But we've got Brady Domermuth. He is the principal creative designer. We also have what do we have next? Dave Guskin. There you go. Lead designer on Avacyn Restored, and development manager. We've got Dave Humphreys. So the way this is going to work, we have, they put together slides talking about some of the things behind the scenes for Avacyn Restored, and embedded in that, you're going to get to see some preview cards from Avacyn Restored, so that's cool. We will do our very best to save some time for some questions and answers. While you've got these guys here, it's a great time to kind of pick their brain on the upcoming set. And that's it. Let's get moving. Let's get rolling.
Thanks, Paul. So, Bolas minions in the front 2 rows, thank you so much for showing your fealty. and now I have another favor to ask. Could you take them off so the people behind you can see? Thank you. That's something we didn't really think about, so we appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. I just want to show you a bunch of cool stuff. It's going to be pretty free form. I don't have a script or anything. I'm going to talk about the story and the art of Avacyn Restored, so here we go. This is Avacyn herself. We wanted, in this block, to stay true to a Gothic horror setting, but to have a dramatic tonal turn. And the Hell Vault, as you know, is this huge chunk of moon silver in which Avacyn imprisoned all kinds of dark threats that she couldn't handle herself. What you might not know is that she herself was tricked into the Hell Vault by the demon Griselbrand. They had a 3-day-long fight that ended in a standoff, and just at the last moment when she was banishing Griselbrand to the Hell Vault, Griselbrand pulled her in with him. That is where she has been. So I think a lot of you have seen this art by now. We got some reaction from players saying, well, geez, she looks an awful lot like Sorin. That's on purpose. The cognoscenti among you probably know that Sorin Markov, the planeswalker who is a native of Innistrad, created Avacyn. He created her to keep the balance between light and darkness on his own home plane because he was worried about the things of the night basically feeding on humanity until humanity was extinct. Here's Avacyn's art herself. You see the moonsilver spear there. You might see that in card form very soon. You also see that Avacyn has the same, even though she's the savior of this world and she's unmistakably a good guy, she does not have black mana in her cost as Sorin does. She's the straight up savior of this world. So she is mono white. And a lot of you have seen this, but some of you have not. Here is her card. We were pretty excited about the card. The flavor text points to our very limited ability to tell complex stories on cards. We tried to give you as much story as we could in 4 lines of flavor text here. A golden helix streaked skyward from the Hell Vault, a thunderous explosion shattered the silver monolith, and Avacyn emerged free from her prison at last. So how did that happen? The clever little Easter egg that I want to point out to you is that Liliana of the Veil, her ultimate, her final ability is to divide all permanents into 2 piles. The opponent chooses one to save, everything else is destroyed. That's exactly what Liliana does to the Cathar Thalia. She puts Thalia and all of her friends in one pile and puts the Hell Vault in the other. We wanted, as I said, a tonal shift here. So you see, Innistrad is all about hats, because who doesn't love tricorn hats? So you get more tricorn hat, but you get tricorn hat in sunlight instead of in gloomy darkness. We wanted to show humanity being awesome. We wanted to turn the tables on the things of the night and allow humans to push back, take back their towns and villages, and restore balance to the world. So I'm going to show you a bunch of art. You'll see cards a little bit later on. And the main purpose of showing you the art is just to show you how awesome our artists are. This is Jason Chan. My big thanks to art director Jeremy Jarvis for commissioning all this art. And you'll see some stuff soon from the concept illustrator Richard Witters, whose concepts all this stuff is based on. Now, with humanity on the rise, that means the monsters are not having such a great time anymore. This vampire is being skewered by sunlight, and even the little bats are scared. So now I'm going to show some concept art. What I'm hoping to do here is show you some pages from the Avacyn Restored World Guide. We produce a world guide for every block at least, and sometimes for every set. It's filled with concept illustrations that go out to all of our writers and artists who then flesh it out and make it real. This is the original Avacyn concept from Richard Witters. She started off a little bit more romantic of an angel image. Those of you who know the card Endless Ranks of the Dead, Endless Ranks of the Dead shows a huge stained glass window with Avacyn on it, and she looks all peaceful and robed and stuff, and now she's a little more mad. She's a little darker now for having spent a few years in the Hell Vault and is looking to aggressively restore balance on her plane. This plane is also, as you can imagine, with the restoration of Avacyn, Avacynian magic returns to the world. The divine magic that Avacyn enables returns to the world in all kinds of different ways. One of those ways is that Avacyn's flights of angels are restored. Now, the world had some angels on it before, some angels that had survived her banishment, but with her return, the angels are newly empowered. And we needed to come up with lots of different looks for our angels to make sure that they could fulfill a variety of roles. So here are some angel concepts. You can see some look almost priestly. Others look more warrior-like or even rogue-like. And that's because this set has a lot of angels. You're going to see all these cards soon enough, so I'm just showing you the illustrations. I'm not even going to name most of them. That's Scott Chu.
That's not Scott Chu.
That's not Scott Chu, you're right. That card was illustrated by Scott Chu, is one. This illustration's by Igor Kirlik. That's Todd Lockwood. We also have a few angels who have a little bit of a special status. Avacyn, suffice it to say that Avacyn is not the only legendary angel in this set. Avacyn has three main flights of angels. There's the flight of Gold Knight, flight Alabaster, and the flight of Herons. And each of the flights has a messenger. This is Bruna. Bruna is the messenger of flight of Herons. Yes. This is Sigarda. Sigarda is the messenger of flight Alabaster. And this is Gisela. Gisela is the messenger of flight Gold Knight. However, every magic setting needs conflict. And what Avacyn does not do is turn the world of Innistrad into a bright, happy, peaceful, super boring place. There's still conflict here, and the powers of darkness still reign in much of the world. So the angels have a rough time of it, especially at the hands of people with grudges against angels. Here's Grizzlebrand himself. I think some of you, I'm going to recap this super quickly. I don't want to go into too much detail. There are three main Planeswalker characters in the Innistrad story: Sorin Markov, Liliana Vess, and Garruk Wildspeaker. Each of them is after something different. Sorin Markov wants to find the angel he created. When he comes to his home plane and realizes that she's gone, he knows it's only a matter of time before humanity disappears with her. So he's looking for her. Garruk is looking for Liliana. Liliana has put the curse of the chain veil on Garruk, and he seeks to remove it, either by forcing her to, or if she can't, by killing her. And Liliana Vess is looking for the demon Griselbrand, one of 4 demons to whom she's indebted, one of 4 demons to whom she owes her soul. And with the power of the Chain Veil, she intends to kill those 4 demons and reclaim her soul. As I said, all kinds of Avacynian magic is re-empowered, so it's not just wall-to-wall angels. The Avacynian archmages, whose arcane power had vanished for years, have returned, and there's various orders of archmages, including those who seek out necromancers' secret laboratories and destroy them. There are special Avacynian griffins that we call gryphs. The gryphs have heron heads rather than eagle heads. As the super storyline hardcore of you know, Innistrad's moon is literally made of silver. In the image of the moon, you can see the shape of a heron suggested. That's why the province of Gavany, for example, has the heron and its coat of arms. It's also, that symbol has come to represent Avacyn herself. So these special griffins, these gryphs, these Avacynian griffins reappear when she does. And here's how they look on cards. Avacyn is also able to turn some of the creatures formerly of the night into champions for good. These are the Revenants. Revenants are once malevolent spirits who Avacyn is able to redeem. They stay spirits, but in return for their servitude, they gain peace. So these are sort of, believe it or not, these are good guys, even though they're creepy-looking good guys. They are sort of Avacyn's enforcers. And finally, the Wolfear. So the story behind the Wolfear is that when Avacyn returns, those infected with lycanthropy are not infected. It's more of a curse. It's sort of a metaphysical curse that afflicts werewolves. Avacyn says that she can't remove that curse entirely. What she can do is fuse the 2 essences, the 2 parts of the spirit in a werewolf, the civilized human side and the raging werewolf side. She can resolve the 2, but for that benefit, those who take her up on her offer become these Wolfear, which are sort of noble guardians of the Avacynian church. Not all werewolves take her up on the offer, but those who don't have to go into hiding because of the newly empowered Avacynian forces that are pushing back everything that would destroy humanity. And here's how they turn out on cards. And with that, am I missing something? I'm going to hand it over to Dave Guskian, who is on the Avacyn Restored design team. He's going to talk about designing the set.
Yeah. Hello. So yeah, I was a designer on the design team. I was also a developer on Dave Humphrey's development team, so he'll talk about that. For those who don't know, we split our card design process into like an initial phase where we're doing kind of the rough draft, like coming up with all the ideas and putting them onto cards. And then we have a second phase, which is more like making it more final, making a finished product, making it fun to play, and a really appealing experience. So when we first started, we had some top-level goals. Like we knew that this was a 3rd act. This was going to be its own standalone set, but we knew it was still going to be in the plane of Innistrad. So we knew for sure that we wanted more continuity between the first 2 sets and the 3rd set than we've had previously. If you guys remember the set Rise of the Eldrazi, there's not much mechanical continuity there. Basically none of the mechanics from the first 2 parts of the block come into the 3rd set. So we knew we wanted to keep something, but we weren't exactly sure what. We knew we were going to have humans and monsters, and as Brady said, we knew we wanted to have kind of a teamwork, like humans banding together, things are turning around for them. But we wanted to look into like what can we keep from Innistrad and Dark Ascension. So we tried out some things. We tried out Flashback for a while. The problem with that is Flashback puts a lot of mechanical pressure on the graveyard. I'm sure those of you who have played with Innistrad and Dark Ascension know that the graveyard is very relevant, and it's fun to do that, but we didn't want that to take over and be everything that Avacyn Restored was about, because we wanted the humans and the angels and some other mechanical things to come out. So what we did end up keeping was Undying from Dark Ascension, because we knew that in the end, the strongest monsters would be the ones that survived all of the humans coming out and trying to crush them. So I'm going to show you now, for the first time ever, a new card from Avacyn Restored with the Undying mechanic.
So there's a little story angle here, too. When Liliana first arrives on Innistrad, she has to track down Griselbrand. And there's a fairly elaborate backstory. The first place that Liliana goes is the chasm called Ashmouth. Ashmouth is in the Stensian Highlands. She goes there looking for demons and really only finds piddly little demons compared to the one that she's looking for. Those demons point her toward a demon-worshipping cult in the Erdwall, also called the Ditch, in the province of Nephalia. So Liliana's journey takes her from Stensia all the way over to Nephalia to find these demon cultists, and then up into Thraben itself, where the demon cult has infiltrated. That's how she finds out where Griselbrand is contained.
Brady, I don't think anybody heard you because they're all whispering and talking about how they're going to utilize these cards.
That's the idea. Delicious, delicious cards.
Yeah. I will say a few things about Undying and Avacyn Restored. So you will find that we wove in a couple new mechanical elements that allow you to play with Undying in a new way, and Dave will talk about that when he talks about the development of the set. And additionally, you'll see that a lot of the mechanical stuff is kind of spread among colors, but black kind of gets shorted a little bit because we know that black is kind of the center of the monsters. But what it does get a lot of is Undying, so you'll see that in the set.
Another thing I wanted to mention real quick is that I talked about how we wanted to shift the tone from dark and gloomy to the sun breaking through the clouds. It's still Innistrad, we still want the world intact, but there's a tonal shift. And the basic lands of the set reflect that tonal shift in a very direct way. And you will get to see that for yourself if you stay until the end of the hour.
Because you will be given one.
I was supposed to remind you, and I forgot. Okay, so we've talked about monsters a bit, so I'm going to move on to kind of humans and what's going on with them, and talk about a new mechanic in the set called Soul Bond. So during the process of designing Avacyn Restored, we knew that we wanted humans working together and overcoming, the monsters that have been terrorizing them, and sort of, cooperating and having something where it feels like you can team up on the battlefields. And we've kind of tried mechanics like this many times. None of them made it to print, so you won't have seen them. But allies, for example, from Zendikar were an attempt to do this. And there was another mechanic called Bind that was originally called Link that we brought into design in Avacyn Restored, and it was really fun. It was tons of fun to play with. And the way it works is, and you can kind of see an early template here, is that two creatures will bind together, and while they're bound, they both give each other they both get a benefit from it. This gave us a really good way to show teaming up on the battlefield without really overwhelming you with complexity. Like, we don't have to spell it out exactly what's going on, because you get the feeling that they're both aiding each other in combat and on the battlefield. So I'm going to show you another preview card, a card with the mechanic Soul Bond.
I can smell the sounds of your brains working.
This is also the buy a box card.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, so it's Silverblade Paladin. It costs 1 white. It is a 2/2 with the mechanic Soul Bond, which I will read the reminder text to.
Here's the reminder text. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. When either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them.
As long as it's paired, they both get double strike.
Right, and then the rules text says, as long as Silverblade Paladin is paired with another creature, both creatures have double strike. So this creates a metaphysical bond between two creatures. The idea is that both creatures are sort of, in spirit, are Avacynian allies. When one comes into play, he grants a benefit to another, and both receive that benefit for as long as they remain in play.
Right, and you'll notice that for those who were paying attention, this template is slightly modified from what we play tested with, because we found that you'll play a Soul Bond guy, and if his buddy that he's paired with dies, then originally there was no way to rebind it without having another Soul Bond creature. And we do like the exciting moment of having two Soul Bond guys come together and give each other really big benefits. But we found in playing that we wanted to have the binding process to happen more frequently. So we changed it so that instead of it just happening when the Soul Bond creature comes in, now it can happen also when any unpaired creature comes in if the Soul Bond creature is unpaired. So that added to the gameplay, and we really feel like it plays really well.
I see some hands already coming up. We will try our best best to make sure there's room for some Q&A. And also, there'll be a mechanics article going up on Monday to talk about some of these in more details.
Right, on Sunday night for Monday on the website.
Yeah, there are some crazy rules issues in the set. You got to trust that we've thought about them at least as much as you have. So you'll see more details in the week to come.
So I'm going to hand it over now to Dave Humphreys, who's the lead developer for the set, and he's going to talk about the development of Avacyn Restored.
Okay. Hi, I will mention before moving on to my first slide, just on Soulbond, one other thing to add in terms of one of the reason that we made it the modification as well, so that you could play the Soulbond creature first and still get full utility out. Is just we also found that it was just sort of frustrating if we had a one mana cost creature, like you draw it. If it has Soulbond, you're like, do I save this till later, or like should I just run it out now? So it just created a lot more flexibility, and these are the sorts of things that we're trying to sort out as we work through the development of the set. So the development team's goals, just to reiterate a little bit what Dave said. So we have a design team that works largely independently. There's usually a design rep that then transitions to the development team. So Dave Guskin was the lucky person to be on both teams and look at these cards for probably almost a year.
Yeah, maybe more than a year.
So as with many sets, a lot of the goals here are just to really fully capture the main themes of the set, find out what's working well, refine that, make it work better, take the mechanics, slightly tweak them here and there to make them more exciting. The first thing I have noted here on the slide is one of the mechanics that we'll get to at the very end is probably one of the most out there mechanics in terms of it's a little bit like double-faced cards, and there was a lot of questions, can we really do this? It started off. It started off in.
No, we can't do it. We can't do it.
We can do it.
We did it.
Yeah.
You haven't even seen it yet, and you're fans of it. I love this. It's great.
At any rate, yeah, like through much of design, it was an entirely different mechanic in that case, but we still we found a way to get back to its essence, which was to really just create as much excitement each and every draw step as possible, and that's what you'll see at the end of this. Also, then we're just wanting to capture all of this teamwork, and this is finally a chance for the good guys to be winning and kicking butt, and Brady keeps leaving us with Phyrexians destroying the world and whatever else. So
I do prefer a dark ending, I have to say.
Brady's a pretty dark guy, so yeah, just really trying to capture, make sure it makes sense, like as much as possible. Like there's a lot of human tribal, there's angel tribal. We really want to show the good guys working, sort of in contrast. Dave alluded to a little bit, but some of this is then figuring out. Well, angels is very much the easy part in many ways. It's easy to give you a dozen or so angels, and that'll make you happy. But what about for the other colors? What are they doing? Especially when you have colors like blue, that blue thrives in many ways on having good flyers. What is their role? We found their own little niches, and I'll show you at least a couple cards.
Yeah, we have shown you a lot of white cards, but the mechanics that we've shown you so far and the ones that we're going to show you to come are not confined to white. You'll see in the next couple of weeks how far those mechanics spread out, but one way in which we prevented this from being too white mana centric was to make sure that the other colors got some of that sauce as well.
Also, just in terms of specifically for black, and it bleeds a little into blue, like contrasting with the good guys teaming up and working together, we sort of have a small, subtle set of cards that reward you for having just a lone guy, like one last guy on the battlefield, which we layered in a little bit in development. Also then, angel theme, as Brady just mentioned, it is an equal balance of colors. We talked a little bit about having more white cards than other cards, but it's equal balance amongst the colors. And on to another preview card. I guess I'll read this again since I realize.
Oh, yeah. So it says it has flash, it has flying, it has Little Bo Peep outfit.
It's got it all.
I actually think, I think it's great. When Restoration Angel enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control.
So this card, just in terms of vantage point of what this card was trying to convey to us, we called this Rescue Angel through most of our play testing. You know, the idea being that sort of at moment's notice it has flash, it can come in and save any of your other creatures from any number of innumerable harms. The enters the battlefield spell that it's effectively casting, some of you may recognize from years past, and most notably Flicker. We also called this
Flicker Angel.
Flicker Angel at many points. There's actually a fair bit of flickering in the set compared to normal. We realize that it works very well with some of the other mechanics and goals of the set, specifically like Undying we mentioned earlier. Undying, when the creature dies, it comes back with a +1/+1 counter. This is a way to reset that creature back to its original state so that it effectively has one more life. Also, as with this very card itself, a number of the good guy creatures are casting spells effectively as they enter the battlefield, like this one. Flickering and effects like that give you ways to reuse those enter the battlefield triggers, and I get more value out of that.
Right, you can also do interesting things with Soul Bond if you think about it mid-combat. If you can, cast an instant or this creature to reunite in a different way.
You guys seem to have really thought about this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Yeah, and Soul Bond, was certainly one like just when you think you know what sort of pair you're up against, like any number of cool combinations can come up. And another card.
So how do we make sure that cards, colors other than white get some love?
You should probably let them be excited.
That's what I like to hear. So when design on this set began, the vice president of R&D, Bill Rose, came to me and asked me a question, which is awesome that the VP asks me questions. He was like, so how many non-white angels can we do? So I'm the guy who spoiled the fun and said 0. 0. Angels need to be white, but they don't need to be only white. So this is one of the multicolored angels you'll see. There may or may not be others.
You want to read the card again?
Oh yeah, sorry. So the casting cost is 2 white mana, 1 green mana, and 2 mana of any kind. In other words, 2 GWW for those of you who know our slang. It has flying and hexproof. Its rules text reads, spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. And she's 5/5.
So in many ways, this card, to some extent, speaks for itself. We went through any number of iterations and trying to figure out what fit best on this. Certainly, if nothing else, I think we're very proud of the fact that how well this is a green and white card that gives you a very strong effect against their enemy color, black. You might even be able to think of a planeswalker such that has an effect that might cause you to sacrifice creatures. So yeah, this gives you very good protection against Liliana, who has sacrifice. There are a number of other sacrifice effects. Sacrifice effects are a big part of the set.
Do we have commander players among us?
I'm getting some love in this set.
Yeah, certainly, as with all of our sets, we got these nice legendary angels, and we're always looking out for our commander players. So before I move on to the next slide, so the last mechanic I've alluded to a little bit. It's a spell mechanic, only exists on spells. We've talked about divine power and wanting to show off divine power. I'll just give you all a minute to potentially try to brainstorm what name we might have chosen.
Let's say that you're in charge of inventing the keywords for mechanics, and your job is to come up with a keyword for divine power and holy might. What keyword do you come up with? Affinity for angels. Well played.
You did it. Guessed in one.
I heard smite as a guess. Okay, what else?
Excellent. Yes,
Righteousness.
Bands with other angels, I think I heard. Well, let's show you what we came up with.
Angelic wrath.
All right. Oh, it's Miracle is the name.
Oh, it's pretty good though, right?
I don't know what that means yet, so I hate it.
But did anyone get that? Yes. No? All right. So as I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of debate exactly over the implementation of this. This changed a fair bit in development. again, we'll get to the gameplay very momentarily here. Again, just to remind you that the main goal here is just to create as much tension and excitement. You know, like you've had those games where, like, really, like, this is the only card I can draw. Like, these cards are set up to be that card that, like, this is the card you got to draw, and you'll be thinking about that card.
One might say it was a miracle.
It was a miracle.
What?
And yeah, it's special in its own way that we have a new card frame treatment for it as well. So let's just get to it.
All right, the card is called Thunderous Wrath. It costs 4 RR, or 2 red mana and 4 of any other. It's an instant. Thunderous Wrath deals 5 damage to target creature or player.
Then there's applause.
Processing.
Now you like the name.
For those of you on the far right, the miracle text is as follows. Miracle R, or Miracle 1 red mana. You may cast this card for its miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn. And you can see those rays of light trying to tell you, hey, you drew something important. Please stop whatever you're doing and pay attention to me.
Right. So again, undoubtedly you'll have many questions about this. I'll do my best to at least give you a little bit more background on this mechanic itself. And I can tell you're all still very excited about this card.
Hear the sea of whispering.
Yeah.
Peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots.
So yeah, one thing to keep in mind, like this was tricky. It wasn't quite figured out by the time that this came to development. A lot of what development was trying to do was, as much as possible, make this like when you draw this card, you sure want to cast it. Some of that amounted to getting that miracle cost as low as we possibly could. Can't get much lower than a single R to cast it. Be free.
But we have learned over the years that when we let you pay for things or play things without paying their mana cost, bad things sometimes happen to the metagame.
Well, yeah, and also we wouldn't want all of these miracles in any.
Right,
I'll play all these miracles
color.
even though I don't have any of this. But so I will mention just one thing, as Brady mentioned in reading the text for it. It is only the first card you've drawn this turn, just in terms of development stories and issues. One of the things was that we realized that when this first came along, it was just any card you drew, and what we quickly found is like, well, I know how I'm going to build this deck. I'm going to play every card that I can imagine that draws more cards, and we found that was very much at odds with our actual goal. Like, the more cards, if you're drawing 2 or 3 cards, potentially a turn or on other turns, that like actually each draw you had is actually that much less exciting, not more exciting. So that's the reason that it is limited just to the first card you draw each turn. Yeah, and it does lead to those moments where you're kind of peeking at the card, and we do acknowledge that this is going to lead to, if you're putting these into your deck, that you need to like at least remember that they're in your deck, and you do need to be cognizant of the fact that as you're drawing these, you want to be looking at them. This is why we have the new card frame treatment. We don't just sort of willy-nilly do new card frame treatments. This is there for a very functional reason, which is like, oh, I drew this, like I need to pay attention to this before I put it into my hand or shuffle it. Right.
This is also another example of just as humanity exists in all 5 colors, that means that if humans are in all 5 colors, then Avacynian magic is in all 5 colors. This is another example of a color other than white getting some love.
Well, except for black. Actually, there are no black miracles. Sorry, I will give you that tip now.
Black gets some other good stuff in the set, so.
Yeah, just wait till you see Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
That's go ahead and advance. Yeah, I think that's most of what we've got to show you, and we're hoping to take some questions from the crowd.
Yeah. So here's what we'll do. There's some gray squares in the aisles, and the enforcers are going to have mics for you. But before you get up to get in line for questions, many of you have probably been to our magic booth, and you might have seen that we have some magic items like shirts, and there are bags, and like skins for your cases for your cell phones. Well, under your seat, or maybe under your seat,
under some of those seats.
Yeah, that's the technical way. You might have
a lucky subset of you will get some swag.
A number, and if you do, then at the end of this panel, it should be taped to your seat. You're going to want to go. It's on the front of the seats, on the front part of the seat.
Yeah, it's on the.
You can kind of feel under with
the
your
front lip of the
your
seat,
hands.
right?
I guess. Look, man, I don't know.
So congratulations to the winners.
What you're going to want to do if you got one of those numbers is the first exit door over here, closest to us, over where the gentleman is waving his arms. You're going to want to go there to get your cool.
At the end,
item.
no, because we have something exciting for you at the end after questions.
And then we also have that land that we talked about and some other things. So why don't you go ahead and. You've got a chance here to ask questions to the Avacyn Restored guys on design and development team as well as creative. So
if you find a piece of paper under your seat that has tape on it, pull the tape off. That has the number underneath it.
For those of you who didn't get the lucky chairs, everybody will get an Avacyn Restored basic land on the way out.
Hi. My question is, in the entire block, it seems like most of the white humans and other good characters have been white. Is there any effort from like the team to sort of get the art more in line with the increasing diversity of Magic's player base?
Yeah, it's an issue we think about a lot, and you're right that it was extra challenging with Innistrad because Innistrad tries to imagine this sort of northern Europe, right? Like the Gothic horror stories are often set especially in the Penny Dreadfuls in London, and also like some early German films like 1920s and 30s Germany. The World Guide contains a number of non-Caucasian subjects. The challenge we face is that we try not to micro-control our illustrators. All of our illustrators are contractors. They all work for us and for other clients. And one of the reasons why we get the best illustrators in the world is because we give them the freedom to address the composition, to address the art order as they see fit. That means that like when we send an art order out, we'll see a sketch for the piece of art 3 or 4 weeks later, but that sketch won't be in color and is often not detailed at all. And then by the time we see the final painting, the artist has had their chance at creative self-expression, and we have to think twice before saying, too many white people, do it over. So we make an effort. We think about it a lot. I'm especially sensitive to it because I believe that the whole fantasy genre is too white. I would love to see more non-Caucasian subjects in fantasy broadly. But that said, because we do all of our work with contractors, there's only so much control we can practice before we start alienating people by telling them too many details and taking creative control away from them. But thank you. Thank you for asking.
Let's go to the other side. We'll rotate. Yeah.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Have any of you ever played a deck that both had Sylvan Library and Brainstorm in it?
Yes, I have in Cube, when I play in Cube Limited, which many of you know is...
An excellent format.
Yeah, it's a limited format that is a person creates a set of cards that they then have their friends draft with them. And in that format, you have to get to play with many old, very powerful cards.
That's not your real question, though.
No, that's the lead-in question. So, having experience with that interaction, how can you justify extending that rules headache? It's one of the top rules headaches in the game. Why would you extend that using the miracle mechanic into standard?
Dave, you want to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately, Brainstorm is not a headache in standard. Again, like, you know, we're trying to make the best player experience we can for standard in many cases. Certainly, we're very wary of all the other formats that are all of our players from Legacy all the way through to standard. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see just how powerful and good some of these effects are with Brainstorm in particular.
I'm not asking about. I was using that as an example to talk about drawing a card and having to separate it as the first card you've drawn compared to other cards you've drawn on the turn.
You're totally right that this introduces some complications, and it's something that R&D in general is thinking about a lot in the development of new sets. There's this tension between rules elegance and excitement and novelty. Magic players have an endless appetite for novelty, and for us, we believe that rocking the boat a little rules-wise is worth creating that sense of excitement and drama that we didn't have before. I think when you get more details on the miracle mechanic, you'll see how we dealt with some of those complications. But it is less elegant than mechanics in the past, and we believe more exciting as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. How you guys doing? Two quick questions. First, I've seen the question asked a lot. I never saw a legitimate answer. Is there a link between Avacyn and Sara?
Is there a link between Avacyn and Sara?
Yes.
No, there's not. It's not. If there is a link between Avacyn and Sara, it's not known. Sara was a white-aligned planeswalker who created her own plane.
Right.
Sara Angels are her creation. There are a few different angel stories, and this is unintentional, honestly, that allude to the sudden disappearance of an angelic figure. Sara wasn't an angel herself, but she's connected with angels. I've also been asked whether there's a connection between Avacyn and the Archangel Asha on the plane of Alara. And the answer is no. In this case, Sorin created Avacyn to keep the balance on his world. Sorin is very well traveled. Sorin is many millennia old. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sorin has encountered Sara Angels or maybe even Sara himself, but there's no connection between his angel and Sara herself.
And the second question, I didn't realize that answer would be so long. Are there any, all the angels we saw today were female. Are there any male angels?
Well, we occasionally do a male, like Malik of the Dawn, for example. Right now, almost all the demons in Magic are male, and all of the angels are female, largely out of tradition, largely out of just a grandfathered-in pattern. I think Magic players expect angels to be female, and when you defy Magic player expectations, often Magic players are like, why did you do that? I know what angels are. You're breaking that definition. We also think about that gender parity in the same way that we think about non-Caucasians in fantasy. The gender parity issue is tough in terms of, why, for example, aren't there female demons or male angels? Part of it is that we don't want to demonize. Often when you combine evil with a female figure, you end up demonizing sexuality, and we want to carefully avoid that. On the other side, why aren't there male angels? Like I said, it's largely pattern and tradition.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi. So my question is regarding the interaction between soul bond and banding. If you...
Why are you playing banding cards?
So, unfortunately, Matt Tabak, the Magic Rules Manager, is not here today, but I can guarantee you that he will talk about it at some point in either the article that's going up on Monday, which I have not read, or in the subsequent days.
My answer remains, if you play banding, you deserve what you get.
It's not unreasonable. Thank you.
Let's take a moment in questions here, because we should leverage our internets here. We've got some people who've been following the panel live. And John Hickey, our social media manager, has a question from the internets.
What?
So here we go.
Hello,
what do the internets want to know?
It's like we're living in the future.
Hi, I am the internets.
Hello, internets.
Because Avacyn Restored wants to be such a white set, do all the angels and such, how did you approach creating black and reds that's interesting? We have a lot of people online that are saying, but I love black, I love red, what do you have for me? So yeah, that's the question from the internets.
Yeah, so we did spend a lot of time in design and then also in development because, as Dave has mentioned, the angels are kind of a focus in the set. It's difficult when you're trying to balance the set for limited or to provide tools for people who want to build decks to not just be on the white path. So what we ended up doing is, as Dave mentioned, there's a mechanic which we've nicknamed Loner that is centered in black. Additionally, there's kind of a mini theme with haste and humans in red. So I feel like we've definitely done some things that I think will be exciting and enjoyable and will be cards that you can build around and that you can add to your decks that are in black and red. Now, there aren't angels. Probably there aren't angels. But there are a lot of cool things that you can do with those colors in this set as well. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it a bit. I mean, and in particular, some of the good guy stuff does bleed a little bit into red. Like, there's a lot of human tribal in red, and red's part of the good guys in the sense. Black stands more at odds with this, with some of the stuff that Dave mentioned.
Yeah, and Undying too shows up in both of those colors.
And let's be real, demons are about as cool, if not cooler, than angels, depending on your perspective.
There are quite a few demons in the set as well.
Hey.
Thank you, Internet.
When designing a set like this with a mechanic like Miracle, which is obviously potentially very strong as any reduced cost ability is, how much focus do you give to eternal formats and things like Commander?
I mean, much of our testing is with standard. Certainly, we're very cognizant of what's going to be problematic in other formats. We've already. I mentioned Brainstorm earlier. Like, there are a lot of cards that are super powerful with Miracles when you can reliably set this up, and cards that are taking cards specifically from your hand and putting them back on top of your deck. In many ways, we still want to challenge the community to see what they're going to be able to come up with some of this stuff. I mean, there's certainly, there's one card in particular that I'd say, we're probably more nervous about than some other cards that'll probably be getting previewed very soon.
I think it's getting previewed on Monday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday night.
Look at Rosewater previews soon. But we're always worried about other formats. We're always looking at other formats. But in the end, the bulk of our playtesting time is towards standard, just because that's where a lot of our
playtesting resources often go majority towards standard, but within R&D there are champions for any number of formats. So there's people looking out for you inside. Like there's the commander guy who's like, wait, hold on, this is going to wreck my favorite format. And R&D isn't quite as diverse as the millions of Magic players worldwide, but across R&D design development, we have enough diversity of preference that those issues do get covered.
Right. And I will add, just on that note, we show our cards to many people in the company. They have a chance to give us feedback. A lot of these people, just only play Commander or only play some other various, varied format. So we get feedback from a lot of people. We have a lot of people with their eyes open. It's just, I guess our team in particular tends to be a little bit more focused on standard, just if nothing else, because so many of our high-profile events are using that format, and that's where a lot of the pressure is when we have thousands of people playing a Grand Prix week after week. Just that much more attention on it.
Thanks.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for all your hard work on the Magic brand recently.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for done a really awesome job the past couple of years. My question is Soul Bond isolated to creatures, or are there ways to grant Soul Bond and the corresponding benefits to creatures via either equipment or auras or world enchantments?
I can talk a little bit.
No comment.
Well, so world enchantments, interesting. So I will talk a little bit about the design of Soul Bond. So when we first started and it was Bind, we had it across a bunch of different things. It wasn't just two creatures uniting. It was sometimes a creature and a land, and it was sometimes like an enchantment and an equipment, et cetera, et cetera. What we found was creatures binding to each other was fun enough and cut deep enough that we could get the cards we wanted for the set out of that, and we didn't really have to stray beyond that too far. I do think that Soul Bond is going to be very popular. It's going to be fun to play with, and I hope that we can do it again. When we do, that's when we would come out with some of the more complex situations you're talking about. I don't think I think you will find some things that have some complexity depth to them, but overall we kind of kept it simple for the first time out. Thank you.
Hi. So the question I want to ask is, when you're first starting to design a set, how do you approach the issue of, do you say, I'm going to make X cards that are going to be good for standard, I'm going to make X number of cards that are going to be good for modern? How do you approach that? And then do you say, okay, Gravecrawler, that's going to influence standard, and then this legendary creature is going to be very good in modern? Like, how do you do that? Do you have a set number of cards that you really want to hit for each different format?
In term, we certainly have guidelines where we're trying to get it to a certain number of cards that we're sort of targeting, to be fringe playable in various formats, or clear-cut hits in various formats. So yeah, we do have specific goals where we're trying to get to a certain number of cards that we're just confident that are going to make it into one format or another. That can vary a little bit, but sometimes we do want to push some formats more than others a little little bit. Like we like, oh, this cycle of cards will fit really well into Modern, or this cycle of cards will fit well into Legacy, or it seems like this deck's been doing well enough in Legacy, let's say, for long enough that it would be really good to put in a card that's going to be really good in that format and mix up the format some, as you've probably seen with some recent sets.
I can also note that we're not perfect. Oftentimes we'll guess at what we think is going to impact things, and there's not a ton of us. I mean, we're smart people and we do a good job on the most part, but we're not thousands and thousands and thousands of Magic players playing all the time. So we take swings, like Dave's talking about, where we have some certainty that we think we're going to have many of these cards impact formats, so we're not sure until it's actually out in the real world. So,
sorry for those of you who were running out of time to get questions too.
Thank you.
Apologize for that.
Hi, my question is about Miracle. With a mechanic like Miracle, where it relies on drawing cards, if you have something like Howling Mine in play and you draw 2 cards, it would become really easy to cheat and just say, oh yeah, this is the card that I drew at the beginning of the turn. How much does something like that impact, when you're thinking, should we put this in, should we not put this in?
We certainly think about it a lot. I mean, in that particular example, you are drawing those cards sequentially, so it's going to take some getting used to. The first time you play with this, it might be a little bit rough, but if you're putting these in your deck, the first card you draw off of Howling Mine, you need to consider that card that you're drawing, and then use it as a miracle or not, reveal it or not. It's optional whether you're even revealing that card. If it is a miracle, even you can choose not to be playing it then. But then you draw the second card and proceed along, and yeah, it'll take some getting used to. And that was certainly. We explored other things well, maybe we can only do this if you have an empty hand when you draw the card, and just in the end, it's so many things where many people are playing more casually anyways, where it's sort of on them. Most people when we talk to around the building that do play more casually, in particular, we're just yeah, we can police ourselves on this. People aren't going to be cheating in their casual games, and yeah.
I would also like to reiterate that Matt Tabak is the rules manager for Magic, and he will write up a very definitive FAQ about this mechanic, which will apply to tournament play, for example, which are the less casual situations that you might be asking about. Thank you.
I really liked Rise of the Eldrazi, especially the limited format, and now with Avacyn Restored being another standalone block, I was wondering if this was why this was going to be a standalone block, and if this standalone block will come again in the future.
Yeah, so I know that so Brian Tinsman was the lead designer for Rise of the Eldrazi and also for Avacyn Restored, and I know that when he was kind of given the job to be the lead, he was kind of told hey, this is going to be its own set. I know that we're still kind of experimenting with that sort of thing. I can't say one way or the other whether we're going to come back to it, but it would not surprise me. I know that it also gives us some freedom to explore shifts in the setting. For example, the Eldrazi arriving to Zendikar or Avacyn being restored in Innistrad that give us some cool ways to put a new spin on things mechanically. So I think that's definitely been something that we've enjoyed and had a lot of.
Yeah, I don't think we're done playing with formats. We're still playing around, still trying to find new hooks, new things that ways of changing the 3-act structure, or ways of changing the structure of the block that will work. In the very, very early days of Avacyn Restored, we considered having it be not set in Innistrad. Part of the reason why it is, and why it's more connected to Innistrad and Dark Ascension than Rise of the Eldrazi was, because we heard what you guys had to say when Rise of the Eldrazi came out, and how much you wanted a continuation, how much you wanted a 3rd act, how many of you thought it was connected enough, and how many of you thought that it could use more connections. And I think Avacyn Restored benefits from that feedback.
Thank you.
Cool. I have two quick questions. One, since the last 2 sets were all about all the white humans waiting desperately for Avacyn to come back, wouldn't it have made sense for Avacyn herself to have the miracle mechanic?
So I can talk a little bit about that actually. So Miracle was not in the original design. There was a different mechanic that we tried really hard to get to work that had a lot of the same goals as Miracle has, which is we want it to be exciting and you know make it each turn feels really exciting. Back then, Avacyn did have that mechanic, but as Dave said, when we couldn't get that mechanic to work and we moved on to Miracle, Miracle is a spell mechanic, and Avacyn, obviously we want her to be a really awesome, badass angel. It's very difficult to merge the two, and I think you'll find that they just want to serve different goals. Like Avacyn is a really awesome permanent on the battlefield, and Miracles are kind of creating that excitement in one shot, which is what spells are really good at doing.
And also, I play Turbo Fog in Standard because I'm cool. And I was wondering, out of the next 250 cards in this set, will this set make me happy? How many Fogs did you guys print?
I think there's Fog Angel and Fog Demon and
Soulbond, Fogger.
I mean, it will make you happy to know that one of our developers, Billy Moreno, loves Turbo Fog and actually did play a number of variants on that during the FFLs.
I think you will find some cards that you will enjoy.
I made up Fog Angel. It's not real.
Thank you.
So, hello.
Hello.
So my question is, with angels being such a huge part of this set, a lot of the appeal of angels for a lot of people is that they're these huge, flavorfully and mechanically huge bombs. How does R&D keep it exciting between when you have a tribal angel theme? And I don't know if there are a bunch of demons too, but when you have these things that have historically been such bombs and you make them such a huge part and a diverse part of the same set, how do you keep them all exciting? We have 30 angels in the set or whatever. How do you keep it interesting from one angel to the other?
The glib answer is you'll see. The slightly longer answer is what I didn't want is I wasn't thrilled with the Urza Saga decision to put boring angels in for the sake of making it feel angel-y. Like I don't want a 2/2 vanilla angel. That sucks. Like that just doesn't excite anyone. That takes something that's iconic and cool and kind of cheapens it a little bit.
So. We got the time, so thank you guys very much for your questions. Before you, and thank you for coming to this. So before you all stand up, though, there is one more thing we thought you might want to know.
We're not going to take any more questions.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all for coming.